Welcome to Talking Treasures, a CTV Perth production. We're coming to you today from Garside and Webb's Auctioneers in Perth. We've got a great show planned for you with treasures that guys at home have brought in for our experts to have a look at. Matt Donnelly will be looking at collectibles, Jelly Hayes will be looking at jewellery and silverware, Grant Stone will be talking about toys and books, and we've got John Stringer to have a look at the fine arts. Let's go have a look and see what you guys have brought in.
Welcome to Talking Treasures. We've got Chris today who's brought in a rather exciting looking box, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's inside. What have you got in there?
Well, Julie, it's a necklace and a bracelet essentially. Mother bought it quite a few years ago, and I know she paid £3,000 then.
Right.
But I'm not sure what it's worth. But I heard that Garside and Webb are the best, so I thought I'd bring it down for you to have a look.
Right. Oh wow, that's very spectacular. Let's turn it around for the camera to see. That's a really beautiful quality necklace. I can see with that, without even getting it out of the box, that the quality is very good. I'm guessing your mum bought it new. It's Italian. It's 18 carat yellow gold, and it has a rather nice detail of these sliding stones in the middle. I don't know if the camera can see that. The stones slide backwards and forwards within that little centre panel. It's beautifully put together, beautifully made piece. It's a quality piece of jewellery. The market value of a piece of modern second-hand jewellery is approximately 1/3 of insurance valuation. Without actually going into too much detail, I'm guessing the insurance valuation on a necklace like this and bracelet set would probably be around the $9,000 mark. So you would sort of expect to get perhaps $3,000 at auction for such a thing. It's a very sophisticated, smart piece of jewellery. I imagine it would sell really well. The little slipping diamonds is repeated in the neck piece at the centre here. It's a really nice piece of jewellery. I wouldn't have thought you'd have too much trouble selling that at all.
Fantastic.
The necklace is beautifully made. It has that wonderful ribbon-like quality. It moves on the body, so that it would be very comfortable to wear. It would always look good because it has that lovely liquid quality about it that makes it so wearable. And it's a sort of demonstration of quality. The engineering of the piece is very good. It's a very handsome necklace. This is a good quality wearable piece, wearable set. It's something that you could wear with jeans, or you could wear it, with a ball gown, so it would slot within any environment.
Hello, Gwen. I'm Matt, and brought a couple of items in for us. How long have you had these for?
I've had this one since 1935.
Really?
And this one I've got a set of 5 canisters.
Right.
They were in 1969. They were given to me.
Okay, and was this purchase new?
Yes.
Yeah, I
With
would
the
have thought it
history
was
on
about 1930s myself, but yeah, 1939 you said.
That's 5.
1935, yeah. It's a lovely little Popeye milk jug, or cream jug, whatever you'd like to call it. And it's Japanese made, and they're copying sort of some of the English Beswicks and Daltons and the character jugs, things like that. And it's got a nice sort of finish to it with the crazing and all of those sort of things, traditional sailor tattoos. And you can see they're the obvious giveaway, made in Japan. But they made some very fine and interesting little collector's items. And these days they're not bringing a huge amount of money, but they're not cheap Japanese China or anything like that. It's sort of quite respected.
I believe it's before they start making characters like Popeye and things like that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And what sort of money did you think this might be worth today?
Someone told me once it was worth about $500. That's a few years ago, but
Yeah, well, that's definitely misleading. Wouldn't be worth that sort of money, but I would think in an auction environment it might bring somewhere like $60 or $80, something like that. If it was a Dalton or a Beswick one or a Moorcroft, something more important, then we might look up around 3 or 4 or 500, but not
nice.
for a little Japanese, what we call copy. But very nice little character piece, and a great subject, and also very collectible because it's Popeye and it's a jug, so it'd meet a couple of areas
there's
of
held
collecting.
many things over the years, pencils and...
Yeah, is that right?
Yes, I loved it.
Yeah, it's a pretty little piece. And where does it live at home?
Up on the top shelf.
Yep, up on the top
looks
shelf.
down on me.
Looks down, oh that's good. And these you're saying you purchased in 1969?
Yes.
Yeah, and you have the full
Yes,
set, small
yes,
to
the
large?
full- Yes.
Yeah, well they're basically just a very practical set of canisters. They're made from aluminium with a plastic lid on them, and they've actually got a simulated painted wood grain finish on them. Obviously they're all labelled for you for coffee and tea and sugar and flour, and they look great, sort of above on the mantelpiece,
Yes,
and
they all
they graduated there and sets, and they're nice and easy to clean and use. Some of these are starting to respect good prices at auction now. They do like the bright coloured anodised ones, and more of the big cream and green and red enamel and cream canisters.
Yes.
They bring 400 and 500, but these ones here are still in the market of probably under $100 for a set. At auction, probably 30 or 40. In a retail shop, 80 to 100, something like that. But given time, they'll be antiques as well.
I've got a set of adonised cake and biscuits.
Oh, okay.
They're quite.
Yep.
Yeah, the bright adonised.
Yeah, well,
ones.
they're very much meeting the Art Deco trend, so they're sort of, bringing good prices and look good amongst chrome and other deco things that people are buying today.
So I won't book a cruise just yet?
No, don't book a cruise quite yet, but, your grandkids might be able to one day.
Yes, but I was wondering who to leave them to.
Yeah, so I think they call it ski, spending the kids' inheritance. So you can't do that today. Well, wait, how'd you hear about our show?
On Graham Avery, I think it was Graham Avery. I was at PR last night.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was
Well,
interesting, and I thought, oh, well, I've got a couple of products I'd like to
Yeah.
find out a bit more about.
absolutely. Well, we thank you very much for coming
Yes.
down, and hope you enjoy the rest of your time with these.
It was nice being here, Matt.
Yeah, thanks very
thank
much.
you.
Okay, you're watching CTV.
What do you think of the evaluation?
Oh, very disappointing, very disappointing.
Really, it's not as much as you hoped for?
No. They're worth a lot to me, particularly Popeye,
Yeah.
because it did have a very nice chocolate Easter egg in it when I was given 5 years old. I was.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Which is long gone by now, of course.
The Easter egg.
No problem. Well, you have a good day.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for listening to me.
You're joining us at Garside and Webb Auctioneers. We're talking treasures, and once again we're with Grant Stone. Grant, how are you?
Hi Miley, well thank you.
Thank you. What have you got here? Postcards, it looks like.
It is. This is an area of collectibles that I think anyone could get into because everything on this table apart from the book is free.
Free.
Coffee stores around Australia, particularly cafes, have racks of free postcards. There are a number of different companies that are producing free postcards, and in fact we had a company doing that in Western Australia for a period of time. Now that company is folded into Avant Cards, and Avant is probably the biggest of the free postcard manufacturers in Australia. But the cards themselves are a wide variety of collectible interests. You can collect cards for their interests themselves, you can collect them for the subject matter that's on them. This card, for instance, is produced to promote a PlayStation game. So you've got a card here that has the graphic material that is associated with the game itself. This card is produced, again for Avant, but it's produced through the Body Shop, and it's part of their campaign to remind us that there are only 6 or 8 people that look like supermodels, and there are 3 billion women in the world who don't.
But we don't see them that often.
Well, we don't, and especially not on postcards, so that
Yeah.
was part of their campaign. I'm fascinated by the variety of subject matter that postcards have. Some of them are straight out of advertising campaigns. You might remember this is the Ford Fiesta campaign for the German research scientist that says, "Aren't you beautiful, baby?" And there's more to the ad.
And then we've got International Women's Day.
International Women's Day.
Learning Planets.
This is Lunig doing a card for the Christmas Bowl, which is a means of giving to aid world poverty.
Oh, right, but that's not a traditional postcard on the back, you see.
Oh, no, all of these are to be used. Some of them can be used as a postcard, some of them can be a mail-in campaign. This one's please give us some money to support the subject matter that's on the other side of the card, but it's still to be posted. So they're still all working as working postcards. These you might see as not real postcards in that this is a government campaign for information about various aspects of what it is to live in Australia, and this one's about trying to get trustworthiness built within the social capital of Australia.
That's just something lovely you can put on your wall even.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, this one is produced by the Baha'i faith, so it's trying to build the value system into society from their point of view. There was a set of 9 of these cards produced, of which this one is the one dealing with trustworthiness. This one's dealing with a notion of justice within our society. And there's a quote on them, but they can all be used as postcards. So the back of them, there's still a postcard design.
How long have these postcards been out, like free?
Free postcards? I think Avant as a company has now been going around about 12 or 13 years.
Okay.
The idea of free postcards evidently got off the ground in cafes in Europe and North America about 5 to 6 years previous to that. And people saw that idea in Europe and said, why can't we do it in Australia? Came back here, talked to printers. You could do it in Australia. You could get a distribution network up of free postcards in the cafes, and suddenly postcards have become a hip object again after the last heyday of postcards, which in fact was the turn of the century from the 19th into the 20th century. And this is what's largely documented here in David Cook's book on picture postcards in Australia. You'll see that the date range of the postcards is 1898 to 1920, because by the end of the First World War, the postcard kind of furore had died down.
Yeah.
They were part of life everywhere. When you went somewhere, you posted a postcard home, and when you went overseas, your folks said, at least send us a postcard. So there was always that sense of involvement. But the idea of everyone sending postcards with a kind of a fervour about them had dissipated by the end of the First World War. During the First World War, they were used quite heavily. And although this book covers Australian postcards, largely Australian postcards and postcard themes, it does talk to things that most Australians can identify with. May Gibbs is a designer of children's books. She wrote Snugglepot and Cuddlepie. There's also aspects of the First World War and aspects of Australian life that are being depicted in these postcards. A lot of these postcards originated overseas. They're not just Australian-originated postcards, and the history of the cards and the companies that produce them and the themes on the cards is documented by David in this book. This is essentially the only book on the history of Australian postcards of any sizable nature, and it's now a collector's item itself because it's out of print. But there we go. If you're hunting for the book may well cost you in the $40 region these days. If you're hunting for the postcards,
But that's okay when you're getting free postcards.
Absolutely. There is a chapter. There's not a chapter in this book about the nature of free postcards because 1920 is the end date. But there is a chapter about advertising cards in there, so you can get a beginning history of what it was to promote various products in Australia that is in the postcards represented, and that bears relevance to these cards. Modern printing allows a lot of variation in free cards, and there's only one that I brought in here, which is not a square postcard. The postcard is being cut into the shape of the animal, and this is a campaign postcard to try and save the Asian rhinoceros.
Yeah,
so the
that's
picture,
a bit disturbing, that one.
It is. The picture is of a rhinoceros who's had both of his horns removed for the trade, and largely the trade is used, the horn is ground up and used as an aphrodisiac, or that's the belief anyway. The herds of Asian rhinos are incredibly small, and this campaign card is largely about protecting those animals and making sure those animals survive into the future.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Grant. A pleasure as always.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Stay tuned after the break to Talking Treasures, because we'll be having a guest expert in.